Kaylin, please tell me, why is the color of this PowerPoint and the color of this unit green? What is the significance? Kaylin?
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Kaylin.
Hello.
Yeah. Why is it green? Why is the color green?
I don't really know.
You don't know? We talked about it last class. Didn't you take notes? Look in your
Yeah.
notes. Go back, look in your notes. Why is it green? Let's go with Bertrand. Bertrand, why is it green?
Because we are talking about new unit, maybe.
Yep, we're talking about a new unit, but why is the color for this unit green? That's the first question. Adler, help him out. Adler, why is it green? Can't hear you, Adler. You guys know this is being recorded and put on YouTube. So when I do parent-teacher conferences and be like, oh, I have evidence that they're not participating in class or answering my questions, just so you know. Felicia, why is it green? Somebody answer.
Because green symbolizes greed.
It symbolizes greed, right? The desire and overcommitment and love for money, power, influence. Having what you have isn't enough. You need to get what other people have. And this hunger, this emptiness in your soul cannot be filled. Tell me why, Grace, why did the Dutch, the English, and the Portuguese all come to colonize Indonesia? Why did they colonize? Why'd they come? Grace, why did they come? One word answer or two word answer. Joey, Omar, Ellen, Teresa, turn your cameras on. I'm going to ask you guys next. Why did they come? Grace, why did they come? Is Grace gone? She left. Oh, that's what happens when I ask a question. Omar, why did they come?
What?
The question, answer it, please.
Why did they colonize it?
Why did the Dutch and English come to Indonesia? What was their incentive?
Because they wanted to get the spices and sell them so they could earn more money.
Money, right. It's all
Money.
about the money. Joey,
It's all
why
about
did
the
they
money.
stay in Indonesia? I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Joey. Sorry. Everybody's having microphone problems today, I guess. Kevin, why did they stay?
Because Indonesia was making money for them.
Money, right? It's always about the money. They came for the money. They stayed for the money. They could do what they did because they had the money. It's all about the money. The golden rule of history, all right? The one with all the gold or the money makes all the rules, right? If you come into India or Indonesia or China or wherever, and you have the money to buy the guns, right, to impose your will on others, you will have power, right? If you have the money to buy the boats to sail the tea and the other spices to Europe, you will have power. In the ancient times, money was power, okay? Why did they come? They came for money. Why did they stay? Because they were getting money. Why did they colonize it? Because of the money. Why could they do what they did? Because of the money. It's all about the money. Okay? Now, in order for you to understand what is colonization, just like there's 5 elements of geography, right? Region, place, location. There's these things that all imply itself into geography. The same thing is with colonization. There are 7 things that have to happen in order for a country to be colonized. Truly colonized, you need to see these 7 things. Okay? You will need to remember these for a test. My suggestion is you write them down. Write them down. Okay? First things first. Okay? Oh, and I can now hear myself. There was a land grab. Okay? Colonization, just like what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia. Russia is moving in and taking land by force, right? Sometimes they would come in and take it by negotiation. But whenever there's colonization in history, it always starts with a land grab. The foreign power, the country or government that wants to take it, right, comes in and grabs the land. Now, you're not going to be able to Google these 7 elements because I changed the land grab from a different term to make it much more understandable for you guys. So they would take it from the native people, native Indonesians, India, Canada, right? Canada was colonized. They come in, and because of their either influence, their strength, whether it's the army or what, they come in and they take the land from the native people and then start imposing on them, right, the mother country's will. A mother country is the country that comes from Europe. So if it's England, England would be the the mother country to India, right? All the goods that were being made, the labor, everything would be sent back to the mother country. The colony would be the place where they would make their, whatchamacallit, all the goods. So all the goods would be, the land would be taken, resources taken. I have a chip stuck in my throat, right? This is all for the mother country, taken land from other people. First element of colonization is land grab. Then there has to be growing for Europe or growing for the mother country. Just so happened almost all of the colonizing countries in the past come from Europe, except for the US. But growing for Europe consists of, you see, they don't just take the land, but they start imposing on the locals the types of crops that will be grown, whether that's rubber trees, sugar cane, spices, tea. They start plantations and they start imposing on these people crops. Crops for export. Okay. And then these crops, right, would be put on a boat and sent home. There's many stories of places, especially in Canada and the US, where the mother country imposed on the colony to grow tobacco. Tobacco is something that you put in a pipe and you smoke it. However, you can't eat it. Okay. It's not like a banana. You eat it and you're satisfied, or rice. So they would force these colonies to grow only the things that they wanted, right? Cotton or tobacco. And there was stories of mass starvation where people would go months and months without being able to eat because all their land was being used for growing these crops that would be put on a boat and sent to the mother country, and they wouldn't have anything left to eat, right? So another sign of colonization after a European country coming and taking the land is then they force the people to start growing crops for Europe, all exported out of the country. Now, the next thing is another sign of colonization. One of the elements is they have to start developing Europe with it. Okay, so minerals and crops that were produced in these countries would be sent, put on boats back to the mother country where they would be used to develop Europe. A lot of examples of these things are hospitals, bridges, other things that are being built, factories that are being built off of the money that is being raised by these colonies. So we have to see Europe being developed by this country. The money isn't just going to the business owners, right? The European government is taking it and growing and developing Europe, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's education or hospitals, those kinds of things. There will be something where we see the money from the colonies being used to develop Europe. If it's not being used to develop Europe, it's not colonization, because that colony has no significance and no implication on the mother country. And so it would just be something very similar to colonization. Colonization only happens when you have these 7 elements. And if it only has 4 of the 7, then it's just something that mimics colonization, but is not complete colonization. After that, okay, we have grabbing your land, you have growing for Europe, you have developing Europe. So Europe gets better and better because of this colony. The colony gets worse and worse. However, another factor which contributes and makes colonization happen is after the colony would grow the product or mine their gold, they would send it all to the mother country where they would make clothes, axes, pots and pans, and guns or whatever. And then they would put this stuff back on a boat and come back to the country, the colony originally that grew the corn or whatever it is, and then they would sell these products back. And so it'd be like Indonesia right now could only buy products from the Netherlands because the Netherlands is the country that colonized it. So if you want to buy tea or anything like that, all the tea leaves get put on a boat, sent to Holland. They're put in packages and then sent back and sold to you for more than what you could probably afford. And so a consuming colony is one where they are using the mother country is selling its products to the colony, and that colony is dependent upon the mother country for simple goods that are used every day. And it's also a criminal offense in most cases in Europe if you were to buy products from a country that was not your mother country. So if you had in your house and the government came and found out that you had a pot or a pan that you bought from a trader who wasn't from the Dutch, you would face severe penalty. Okay, so a colony has to be consuming products and goods from its mother country. So that mother country takes the goods from the colony, makes it into something, and then sells it back. It's like you having a store and you get to force everybody to go to your store. Very convenient, helps you make lots of money, I'm sure. Okay, the next one is hatching hierarchies. They take the land, right? They take the ground and what you grow. They grow their own country and make it better based off of what you've done. And then they sell their own products to you and force you to shop at their store. But on top of that, the colonizing country, the mother country, also imposes on you a government. Okay, they place their own person in power over you. So the whole system in the colonies, right, depended on a small number of the rich. So a few people who maybe owned the railroad, the shipping company, or whatever, they would come and they would be put in power over the colony. So the colony was usually run by slave owners who weren't adhering to the law of their mother country. They would put the people in slavery or work them for very little wages. And so while the rich people of this country got richer, they had the power over these people who weren't their own people, right? They were eating off of fancy silver plates while the poor and unlucky there were to eat off of nothing and were starving. And it's a system of oppression. In most cases, this is what you see. The rich people from another country, mostly white, are placed in power over the colony. Mr. Karan and Omar are from India, and India has probably one of the best stories of colonization you can ask for from about halfway through to the end. There's not a lot of good stories that come out of colonization, and I don't want you to think that I'm saying there's good in it and bad. It's just we need to look for the pros and the cons in everything of history, even colonization. But India has a good portion and good story here. But hatching hierarchies, the mother country establishes the government in the colony. If that doesn't happen, then it's not colonization. What is Russia going to do as soon as they take the capital of Ukraine? They're going to put in a government that is a puppet to Russia, and so imposing colonization. We'll see if it's true colonization in a few weeks. Hopefully not. Then the next thing is you need to see evidence of killing cultures. What this means is there's a big, long, fancy term for it that I'm not going to require you to know, but basically a system that is put in place by the mother country to either convert or dismantle the native culture and traditions or religion. So sometimes this happened by genocide. In Australia, how they killed the culture is they went in with guns and they killed the people there, right? How they did it in Canada is they set up schools where they taught them English and French and their religion so that the native people wouldn't have their natural cultures and traditions to unite them. It was a way of making them dependent and more like the colonizing countries than their own. And so they went out to kill the culture and traditions, whether that's through education in not their mother tongue. So enforcing a law that says everyone needs to learn Dutch or English or French upon the people and they can't speak their own language. There's stories from history of colonizing countries that said you cannot speak your tribal language. If you do, you'll get your tongue cut off or head chopped off, right? It's very evident. There's lots of it in history, but in order for this to be true colonization, you need to kill the cultures. The mother country will go and try to dismantle what is already there and impose their own cultures and traditions on the people. The last one and the next one is in order for it to be colonization, there's also another element, the exploiting of the land. So because colonizing countries didn't see this as their actual country, right? They moved in, they took it. It's like somebody moving into your country, right? Or your house and taking all the food from your garden and not leaving you any food or potatoes or seeds to plant your garden next year, right? You're going to go hungry because you don't have seeds to grow the plants next year. And so what would happen is these people would come in, they would identify the places where they can grow land easily, right? Or they can cut down forests and start plantations. And they would come and they exploit the land, right? They'd either take all the gold, all the minerals. Look at Bunka Belitune, right? They went in and they took all the tin and now it's just a desolate wasteland, right? That land was exploited. We see it in colonization where they come in. It can also be the exploitation of people and resources, not necessarily of the actual land, whether that's water, poisoning the water, things like that. But they come in, they over harvest, so they don't leave anything to replenish the earth. They use crops that might not be well suited there, like introducing invasive species, those kinds of things. And they exploit the land that was naturally there. They exploit the work of the people who are there to maintain harmony, because usually you have to have like rotate your crop. So you can't grow the same thing over and over and over again in the same place, because eventually the land loses the nutrients it needs to grow those things, and then the land becomes worthless. So it's called crop rotation. They would rotate from rice to whatever, to whatever, to whatever, but then they're being forced to grow sugarcane or palm oil or rubber or whatever it is. And so the land was being exploited, the resources taken with little regard for the future or the people who live there. 7 things have to happen in order for it to be true colonization: grabbing the land, growing for Europe, developing for Europe, killing culture, hatching hierarchy, exploiting the land. I think that's it. Those 7 things, you have them in your notes. What I want for you right now. You have 10 minutes. I'm going to put you in a breakout room. Go to the Bible. The Israelites left the promise or left Egypt and went to the promised land. Okay. They did an official land grab. There's a whole bunch of people living where they wanted to move into, and they took it over. There's a lot of elements of colonization. I want for you and your group to identify, if you can, I'm not going to give it away, all 7 of these 7 elements of colonization in the story of the Israelites taking over the promised land. Exodus from Egypt all the way up to them settling it. Oh, next class, we're going to be looking at a whole bunch more stuff, but you need to prove it. And so I'm going to put you in groups. When you're in your groups, you guys need to have a list. Before the class is over, you need to email your list of how you identified those 7 elements of colonization in the story of the Israelites. If yes, you got to have a verse or something saying, oh, they did this. If no, you need to be able to prove that they didn't do it. So I am going to make breakout rooms. Are there any questions before I send you to the breakout room? Orson, you always have questions.